Let's learn how you can approve cases in under 10 minutes. We have developed a fantastic strategy to help doctors breeze through approvals. We recommend that you practice and master our strategy before customizing it to your own needs. Let's start by answering the most common question asked. How do I move the bracket? Have a look at the top right corner of your screen. You'll see 3 view options: existing, predicted, and side by side. In a nutshell, the existing view lets you move the bracket. The predicted view lets you move the teeth, but not the bracket, with one exception for rotations, which we will dive into later. The side-by-side option shows you how the teeth react when you move the bracket. Now that we've cleared that up, let's get down to business. Step 1 in our order of operations is to read the BOD Tech Notes. Train your team and yourself to look at the Tech Notes section during the case setup phase as well as on bonding day. BOD techs will communicate challenges that they overcame as well as bonding suggestions. For example, they will let you know if they had to place a bracket off the FA point to avoid interference or improve insertion access. They will also adjust the slot and base of the bracket accordingly, which can save you time and hassle by reducing the need for repositioning or delayed bonding. The Tech Notes section also includes tips and recommendations for optimal bonding results. By reading the Tech Notes carefully, you can benefit from the expertise and experience of the BOD techs and ensure a smooth and successful bonding procedure. Next, verify that the correct arch form and finishing wire was used to create your setup. On the left-hand side of the screen, you will see a gray panel. Select Torque and Wires in the Analysis section. You will see the current arch form and finishing wire for the case setup. You can change them by choosing from the library of options in the drop-down menu. Next, let's check the bite. Close the Torque and Wires section and click on the predicted view in the upper right corner of the screen. Use the right and left preset views to check your molar relationship. You can zoom in or out by using the roller ball on your mouse. Left-click your mouse to rotate your arch. AP correction is easy. In the left gray column in the Adjust section, click the Bite button. Use the back and front arrows to move the lower arch forward or backwards to your desired position. You could also tip the bite to make contacts heavier in the posterior or anterior. Next, let's do a case flyover and communicate any treatment notes with your team. Check if there are any brackets close to or below the gum line that require direct bonding. Inform your assistant if they need to apply turbos or occlusal buildups chairside. Let's review the first 3 steps in our order of operations. Step 1, check the BOD Tech Notes. Step 2, verify that the setup was completed using your preferred finishing arch wire. Step 3, check the AP. Let's start by seeing how the wizards at DIBS AI did on your occlusion. I like to look at the occlusion before making dramatic changes. Often, the techs have a good reason for putting a tooth where they did. In the predicted view, click on Occlusal Collisions in the Analysis section. Do a quick flyover of the occlusal contacts. You'll be tempted to adjust a tooth outside of our order of operations. Resist the urge, and take a mental note for later. Now that we've taken a snapshot of the occlusal collisions, let's turn them off. Let's start adjusting teeth. We start by correcting any rotations. This is where custom brackets show their power. With customization, there are 2 approaches to rotating teeth. We can move a bracket mesial or distal on a tooth to affect rotation, or we can take advantage of the power of customization and keep the bracket in the current position, rotate the tooth, and customize the bracket to adapt to the new tooth position. Let's look at the first option, which is to rotate the tooth by moving the bracket. To rotate a tooth, you need to select brackets from the adjustment menu on the left column. This may not seem intuitive, as you are in the predicted view and I told you that we can only adjust the teeth in this view. This language will change in future DIBS AI versions. Once the adjustment panel opens, you will notice buttons for rotation. If you feel the bracket is off and needs to be moved towards the mesial or distal, then use the rotation button. The rotation button will move the bracket along the tooth, thus making the tooth rotate. But what if you want to keep the bracket where it is and only rotate the tooth? Easy. Just press the Shift button while clicking the Rotate button. You will notice a gap that forms between the tooth and bracket. Don't sweat it. After approval, we run our algorithms and customize the bracket to the new tooth position. You may also see some unwanted translation of your tooth when rotating. After you deselect the tooth, the algorithms will consolidate space in real time. This section is full of pro tips. First, turn on the 3-tooth view feature in the Customize section of the gray panel. Select the upper right 7. You will notice the second molar in 3 different views below your arch. We want to achieve a nice curve of Wilson. We prefer to see parallelism between the lingual and buccal cusp tips. If one cusp tip is more than a half millimeter in relationship to the other, you can adjust the torque accordingly. Using your keyboard shortcut comes in very handy in this section. While holding the Shift key down and holding either the up or down arrow, you can quickly adjust torque. You can also adjust tooth torque in the bracket adjustment panel. Our techs are very adept at developing a curve of Wilson, which leads to my third pro tip. Use the Tab button to quickly move from tooth to tooth. Before we move on to the next order of operation, let's see how the torque on each tooth looks aesthetically. Start by turning off the 3-tooth views as well as the brackets. You can turn off the brackets by opening the Show Hide and deselecting brackets. Click the spacebar to take you to home base and correct the torque on any posterior teeth that you feel improves the look visually. Our third area of adjustment in our order of operations is to adjust all the posterior in and outs. This is done easiest in the bracket adjustment menu in the gray column. Use the Retract button to move a tooth lingually, and the Protract button to move the tooth towards the facial. Protraction is limited by the width of the arch form. Next, adjust the angulation of the posterior teeth by using the tip buttons in your bracket adjustment menu. Now for Step 5. Step 5 calls for us to adjust teeth vertically. Turn on the Marginal Ridges feature in the Customization menu. Use the marginal ridges and occlusal contact heat map to balance your bite. Use the up and down arrows on your keyboard to quickly adjust the marginal ridges. Congratulations, you have finished adjusting the posterior, the foundation of your occlusion. The hard part is done. Let's focus now on fine-tuning the smile arc, blending the canine region, and adjusting for future enameloplasty. Another powerful capability with custom brackets is the ability to move an entire arch of brackets to avoid collisions or relieve gingival impingement. This task is a 2-step process where we first move all the teeth en masse, then compensate by opening or closing our bite equally. To do so, start in the predicted view, click on a terminal tooth, then shift-click on the opposite side terminal tooth. All the teeth in the arch should move up or down while the brackets remain stationary. Count how many clicks that you intruded or extruded the teeth and adjust with the same amount of clicks in the bite adjustment menu. This should result in the same occlusion that we worked hard for, but with the brackets in their new position. Congratulations! It's time to step back and take a mile-high view of your setup. All of your hard work is about to pay off. We encourage that you practice and master our strategy before you adapt it to your own needs. Try to commit a keyboard shortcut to memory each time you approve a case. Lastly, subscribe to our YouTube channel for short tips on how to master your digital setups. To approve your case, close out any adjustment menus and click the blue Next button. A confirmation screen will appear. A quick click of Send, Export will finalize the approval of your case. For additional information, visit our website or follow our YouTube channel for more constructive tutorials.